Dogs are unique among domestic animals. Their infinite variety of sizes, shapes, and forms staggers the imagination. From 4 distinct types of wild dogs, who are all descended from the small cat-like creature Tomarctus, which is also the ancestor of the wolf, there developed the present dog. Human skill through selective breeding has created many new varieties of dogs, sometimes with an eye toward a specific use, but often merely to satisfy whims of fashion. Often the dog became an extension of the faculties of his master, but equally often he was a friend, a playmate of children, and a companion in man's loneliness. One task assigned to the dog has remained unchanged for centuries, and even gave the name to a breed. This task is the herding of sheep. Where there are large grazing areas or harvested fields, the sheep are permitted to roam. Most shepherds use 2 dogs, a fully trained dog and an apprentice. The dogs must see to it that individual sheep do not get separated from the herd. They also must protect neighboring cultivated fields by patrolling the borders. The sheep herding dog has to be firm, but he must not injure his charges. In southern Germany, he grasps the thigh of the sheep. In northern Germany, he aims at the neck. Dog training develops desirable natural skills of the dog and suppresses undesirable actions. Even a completely untrained dog will instinctively chase a fast-moving animal. This is in his nature. The dog should learn that he will be praised and rewarded if he carries out his assignment correctly, and that he will be scolded or even punished if he misbehaves. This female has whelped a litter. There are 6 puppies. They are 8 days old and still blind. They show little resemblance to grown-up German Shepherd dogs. Not all kennel facilities are suitable for raising puppies. There must be a whelping box of adequate size and a reasonably large run. A layer of straw is all that is needed in the box. He weighs the puppies and records the number of males and females in the litter. Four to 5 weeks later, the breed warden returns and determines that the puppies are developing normally. Finally, after another 3 weeks have passed, the breed warden examines the puppies for the last time. They are now about 8 weeks old. The breed warden writes a litter description based on his observations. This includes such items as health and nutritional status of both mother and puppies. It mentions the color and markings of the puppies, states whether the hair is normal or long, and even relates whether any of the puppies has an umbilical hernia or any other peculiarity. The litter registration form and the description of the litter are prepared with great care. These papers, together with the stud service certificate, are mailed to the office of the Verein für Schäferhund in Augsburg. The records of all purebred German Shepherd dogs are kept there. The stud book office has card files listing all German Shepherd dog kennels in the Federal Republic. Over 40 full-time employees are needed to take care of the stud book office and membership files. Several dozens of litter registrations arrive every day with each mail. There are very complete files listing breeders, dogs, bitches, surveys, and show wins. This makes it possible to check the accuracy of all statements made on the litter registrations and stud service certificates for several generations. Thorough checking makes errors practically impossible. Papers issued by the SV are internationally accepted as correct and reliable. This is due to the well-organized system of record keeping. The stud books contain all the necessary data, such as color and markings of each registered dog, of his parents, and of his grandparents. The total number of dogs registered exceeds 1 million. Each registration paper carries the embossed seal of the SV to indicate the documentary nature of the certificate. The SV building also has a large meeting room for conferences and receptions. Here is a young dog who has been sold and was just transferred to his new home. He gets to know his territory and begins to defend it. He has an opportunity to learn about defending his property when a stranger approaches.
Ja, geef weiter. Een beetje braaf. Ja, ja, ja. Is your day.
He learns to walk on a leash without fussing or pulling. He must learn to avoid obstacles, staying alongside his master and not pulling in an opposite direction.
Zo weiter jetzt.
A dog must become accustomed to being left alone occasionally without disturbing the whole neighborhood by barking.
Nein, bleib.
Now the time has come for him to learn to sit and lie down on command. But a German Shepherd dog must know much more, since he is primarily a working dog. The railroad police have a dog training school near Munich. Here, many of the policemen train their first dog. Some are training their second or third dog. In each case, the trainer works only with the dog assigned to him. At the end of the training period, they are a well-adjusted team.
Führer gehen weiter. Halt! Platz!
All of these dogs have passed a probationary period during which they were tested for their suitability, their ability to track, their willingness to obey commands, and their courage. They also accompanied the policemen to work, but they were not allowed to participate. Now in school, they get their actual training for police work. The course lasts from 3 to 6 weeks.
Hop! 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 Hop!
If it doesn't work the first time, one can always try again.
Hop! Hop!
First on an incline and then straight up. Board after board is added to make the obstacle higher. The trainer still goes along, but the dog is off leash.
Zo is het braaf, Dindo. Hop! Zo is het fijn. Hold!
The dog learns systematically to carry out various assignments. He is taught to retrieve by making use of his hunting instinct. Even jumping over a hurdle to get to his article poses no problem.
Hop! Hold! Out! Hoot!
In time, the dog will jump over an obstacle on a mere command.
Hey! Hop! Hey! Zurück! Hop! Push!
Here, the dogs are on their way to the tracking area in a crowded car. They are muzzled to forestall any fighting during the trip. To teach tracking, one must use an area with which the dog is not familiar, but it must be somewhat similar to the type of territory he is to work in later. The first track is laid by the dog's trainer. Later tracks are made by an assistant. A tracking dog must be trained not to be distracted by other tracks which cross his main track. He will soon be able to follow a track not more than 6 hours old and of average difficulty with about 90% success. When a track is 10 hours old, the chances for success are markedly decreased and are practically nil after 24 hours, despite the fact that the dog's sense of smell is many times as good as that of human beings. Here, the dog picks up the scent and follows the track while his trainer permits the lead to glide along and encourages the dog. The dog finds the box and indicates that he's found it. A long tracking lead forms the connection between trainer and dog. It must be long enough so that the body odor of the trainer does not distract the dog.
Zo is het braaf.
The dog has found the wallet and continues the tracking until, hidden behind a tree, he finds the person who has laid the track. Protection work is the most important part of this service dog training. A helper plays the role of the criminal. At first, finding and barking at him is done while muzzled and on leash. Later, the muzzle is removed. A dog with normal aggressiveness will easily learn to cope with any attack. Practically all dogs react when their owner is attacked. However, protection dog training demands more. The dog must learn to release the attacker immediately on command.
Out! Yep.
Very aggressive animals must be controlled with care. Here is an attacker coming out of a group of people.
Time to stand. Out!
Avalanche dog training is essentially tracking dog training, adapted to the special conditions of winter in the mountains. During the summer season, the dogs become accustomed to working at high altitude.
Ernst, nimm den Hund, gehst dann legst ihn ab, versteckst ihn hinter
The trainer is instructed to make his dog lie down, then hide behind a rock and call him.
Yep.
Rudi, du nimmst den Rucksack, versteckst ihn hinter einem Felsen, aber so, dass dich der Hund nicht sieht.
He is instructed to hide his knapsack behind a rock, but be sure that his dog does not see him doing it. At first, the dog must find his master. Then he must find the knapsack, which still carries the familiar scent of his master. As training progresses, the dog learns to follow the scent of strangers. The actual avalanche dog training takes place in wintertime and consists of 7 phases. Phase 1, a clean and undisturbed snow-covered area is selected. A small cave is dug, just large enough to accommodate the trainer. The dog watches as his trainer lies down in the cave. The fresh track leads, of course, directly to his master. He calls him to come.
Komm.
The dog finds his master and is praised.
Ja, Bulli, brav, brav, Bulli, brav.
In the next phase, the entrance to the cave is closed by chunks of snow. The dog immediately runs to the cave, but he finds an entirely different situation. His sense of smell tells him that his master is hidden behind the snow. In all of the training phases which follow, the preparations are done out of sight of the dog. A second person hides with the trainer. The opening of the cave is again closed with chunks of snow. The dog remembers the hiding place from experience, but the smell is no longer just the familiar odor of his master. Next, the stranger hides alone in the cave and is covered with snow. This time, the trainer asks his dog to search.
Ja, Bulli, brav is er. Brav.
As soon as it is obvious that the dog has picked up the scent, the trainer joins him and helps to dig. The idea is to help the dog and to encourage him. In the final phase, a stranger is hidden again, but this time in a new cave which has been dug in fresh snow. The dog runs to the old cave, of course, but does not find anybody there. He continues to search. As soon as he finds the hidden person, he is joined by his trainer, who helps him to dig. The sooner avalanche dogs are brought to the disaster area, the better the chance to save the lives of the victims. It has become common practice to bring the dogs in by helicopter. If it is not possible to land, dog and handler will jump from heights up to 10 feet. This jumping must be practiced regularly to prevent injuries. A fresh avalanche is an ideal training area, although it is not without danger. There are at present about 80 avalanche dogs in Western Germany, nearly 300 in Switzerland, and about an equal number in Austria.
So ist gescheit. Gescheiter Guris, so ist brav.
War, earthquakes, or other catastrophes often create situations where rescue dogs are of value. Here is a simulated disaster area which was built near Arweiler for training purposes. To begin with, the dog learns to move between sharp-edged debris, fallen beams, and broken glass. He learns to balance and cross over narrow beams. He also learns to overcome his aversion to pipes, dark openings, and other strange surroundings.
Such Hilf. Such Hilf.
The rescue dog must be at ease in the midst of noise, smoke, and fire. The first part of his training tries to accustom him to the whole chaotic atmosphere. The real training for rescue work starts after the dog has learned to move without inhibitions through the disaster area. This rescue and search training follows the same principles as the training of avalanche dogs. At first, it is the dog's owner who hides and is found, and after that, a stranger. One must make certain from the very beginning that the dog looks only for people. Articles, even those which carry a human scent, must be disregarded. Whenever the dog finds a person in the rubble, he must announce this clearly and convincingly. A friendly reception and petting by the rescued persons are important to encourage the dog. All rescue dogs, by the way, have had protection dog training. The German Shepherd dog is a helper and friend, but he also can become a weapon. One must realize that the dog acts without any moral consideration. All he knows is praise or punishment. The moral decisions are the responsibilities of his master.
Aus!
The criminal has met an expert.
Gehen Sie voraus. Fuß.
Police and other security agencies prefer the German Shepherd dog over other breeds. His self-confidence, his agility, his strength and aggressiveness are ideal for protection work. There is one other type of work, however. It represents one of the noblest services performed by an animal. Marion Pye, 26 years of age, is a student of German literature at the University of Heidelberg. She has been blind since birth. The German Shepherd female, Kathi, brings Marion to the university every morning. She lies at her feet during the lectures and afterwards brings her home safely. A few years ago, when Marion had a scholarship to study at the Sorbonne, Kathi came along for a year in Paris. Nearly all guide dogs for the blind are German Shepherd dogs. They are always females. Males are usually too aggressive, and they might forget their duties when they meet an attractive female. New dogs for the school arrive by train. The walk from the railroad station to the school is a first test. Dogs who become badly upset by street traffic are not good guide dog material. The second arrival here does not show any fear. He is suitable, at least in this respect. In a schoolyard, the dog is tested for good-naturedness. A dog who remains calm in the midst of a group of noisy children will also be calm when he comes to a department store or a construction site. As school starts, the dog is taught the difference between a leash and a harness. On the leash, one is allowed to behave like any other normal dog. But when the harness is used, one is at work. To learn about obstacles at ground level comes next. At first, the dog will pay no attention to such simple obstacles as steps, curbs, or a long piece of wood lying across his path. Gradually, he learns to stop when he encounters such an obstacle and to wait until his trainer has explored it with his cane. Reprimand, praise, or reward is all that is used to influence and direct the dog. When climbing stairs, the dog must learn to stop when he comes to the first step, and again when he gets to the second step. In this way, the blind person learns that there are stairs and not just a curb. Under normal circumstances, a dog would hardly pay any attention to a ditch as small as this one. A guide dog, however, must avoid it, even if he is ordered to walk straight ahead. When he learns this, he is praised and rewarded. Here we have a board across the ditch. It is wide enough to serve as a bridge for dog or master, but not for both at the same time. The dog must refuse to cross. He is only allowed to use a bridge if it is at least 2 feet wide. Correct behavior is again rewarded. The width of a passageway between 2 obstacles also must be at least 2 feet. In this narrow passage, the dog is startled by the unexpected collapse of the obstacle. The next time, he will refuse to pass. From a 2-foot width on, the path is open, and one is rewarded with a delicacy. Dogs who have completed this phase of the training can master a labyrinth of obstacles without a single mistake. In the next phase of his training, the dog learns to cope with obstacles which are not touching the ground, but are located above his own height. Normally, he would hardly notice such obstacles since his eyesight is not very keen. His eyes are being trained by progressively reducing the size of the obstacle. Gradually, the obstacle is placed higher and higher. Finally, it consists only of a string. If the obstacle is less than 7 feet from the ground, the dog must refuse to walk under it. He may pass if the obstacle starts above 7 feet. He has to indicate here, of course, that there is a step. Here we have a particularly difficult situation which challenges the ability of the dog. The obstacle moves and consists of a man carrying a long 2x4 on his shoulder. As soon as he turns the wood lengthwise in the direction of the road, it is no longer an obstacle and the dog may pass. This phase of the training terminates by successfully negotiating an obstacle course where all obstacles are represented by white beams. At the same time, the dog receives training in the city streets. He learns how to walk in harness through traffic. He learns to ignore other dogs and even cats. New obstacles are encountered. They look quite different from the white wooden beams at the training ground. Here we have a portion of the sidewalk blocked off completely. The dog must guide its master around it. The dog stops whenever there's a change in height at ground level, such as a curb or a board. He continues only after the trainer, behaving like a blind person, has explored the area with his cane. Here is a situation where obstacles on the ground leave a narrow passage, only enough for a man. The dog makes a detour. An obstacle above ground and above the height of the dog may be an open window shutter or a mailbox. When he's on an open road without sidewalks, the dog ignores any small path. However, he must alert his master when they're ready to cross a street with traffic. In the evening, the trainers discuss with the director of the school whatever progress they've made. He asks the trainer about a dog that was having some difficulty in crowds and with the noise of motors. She tells him that all is fine now. At the conclusion of the training, the dog is carefully examined under a variety of situations and circumstances. His behavior is recorded. It looks easy here, but it took 6 months of training to get this far. Now the time has come when the blind applicants for a dog are invited to the school for 3 weeks of training. The director talks with several of the blind people. He asks one how he gets to work, and another where he keeps his dog.
Der Fastnacht bei Ihnen ist so, wo halten Sie den Hund zu Hause?
Ja, ich habe einen Zwinger.
Ja.
Und ich brauche meinen Hund ja nicht zum Beruf. Aber...
Sie arbeiten, glaube ich, zu Hause, ne?
Ja, ja. Aber meine Frau hat natürlich nicht immer Zeit. Und man braucht ja Bewegung zum Erhalten.
Through informal talks like these, the director gets to know the personality and the domestic circumstances of the applicants. He needs such knowledge in order to decide which dog is best suited for a particular person. Each dog has his own temperament and character and is placed where he is best suited. The director asks one applicant, a stenotypist, whether or not he takes his dog to work. He answers, yes, of course. There is no problem because his employer has 3 trained German Shepherd dogs of his own.
Bis noch zu Ihnen, Fräulein Hartung. Sie arbeiten wo?
The young woman tells the director that she works as a telephone operator in a champagne winery in Wiesbaden. She travels from her home in a small village about 5 miles from Wiesbaden.
Also 7 Kilometer von Wiesbaden entfernt.
Bei Ihnen, Frau Schwarzkopf, ist es ja so, dass Sie sehr viel Bewegung brauchen, denn Sie haben Diabetes, nicht?
Today, the blind persons begin to take care of their dogs all on their own.
So, Blanca, so ist die Frage. Stelle bitte jetzt gehen wir her.
Casey, it's Futter. Oh, it's fine.
The new master grooms the dog and feeds her. The dog must permit her master to remove her food dish, since the blind person can only find out whether the bowl is empty by touching it. Now comes guide work in the city streets. First, the blind person puts the harness on his dog. Then comes walks through a city with which the blind person is unfamiliar. The dog has taken over as guide. The trainer walks behind and gives instructions to the blind person by a gentle touch with a pointer to avoid interfering with the dog. A blind person is recognized internationally by carrying a white cane. The trainers carry a sort of pointer, and he participates less and less. A trainer touches obstacles with his pointer after the dog has detoured so that the blind person understands why the dog did not continue in a straight line. The dog has learned on command to bring her master to a park bench. She knows how to lead him to the entrance of his house. When the dog stops, the hand of her master moves over the dog's back, along over her head and nose, and there's the doorknob. To become a perfect guide dog, the dog had to learn to refrain from doing many things she'd like to do. She also had to learn many things which are not normal for a dog. Once a year, the best German Shepherd dogs compete at the SV Sieger Show. For the winners, there are many trophies donated from all over the world. For the judging, there are 7 classes divided by age and sex. It is amazing that in such a relatively short time, it was possible to develop from native herding dogs a dog which is now the most important service and working dog. The purpose of the Sieger Show is to review the status of the breed and to recommend corrections if any deviations from the ideal type appear. The shape of the head, the jaws, and the bite are all just as important as size, proportions, angulation, and strength of joints and muscles. Thousands of spectators attend the Sieger Show each year. At the largest obedience trial of the year, the Bundessieger trial and the International Service Dog Competition, the emphasis is exclusively on performance. It is possible to compare the performance of various dogs objectively, since the judges follow universally accepted rules and regulations of a point system. To participate in this trial, dogs must have previously qualified at regional elimination contests. This is also true of service dogs entered by foreign law enforcement agencies. Officials of foreign countries are very interested in the performance of the dogs. Foreign observers attend the show quite regularly. The Sieger ceremony concludes the show. There are happy faces of the handlers of the winning dogs. It seems that the dogs enjoy it too. The police departments in nearly all European countries and in countries all over the world use German Shepherd dogs. But he's more than a police dog. His reliability, his faithfulness, his exuberant personality, and his reassuring appearance make him a valuable and trusted companion.